A tiny bird pushes its beak into an open wound on the side of a rhinoceros. The giant doesn't flinch. It doesn't shake the bird away. It simply stands there, as if nothing unusual is happening. To anyone seeing this for the first time, the scene feels almost impossible to explain. A rhinoceros can weigh well over 2 tons. It has enough strength to charge through thick bushes and defend itself against some of Africa's most dangerous predators. Yet it appears to tolerate a bird small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, even when that bird is pecking at an exposed wound. Why? For decades, the answer seemed obvious. The bird was simply helping. Known as the red-billed oxpecker, it spends most of its life riding on large mammals across the African savanna. Rhinos, buffalo, giraffes, zebras, and antelope all provide the same valuable resource: a constant supply of blood-feeding ticks. The relationship looked almost perfect. The bird found an endless source of food. The giant mammals found relief from irritating parasites. Everyone benefited, or so it appeared. But if the story ended there, scientists would have stopped studying these birds long ago. Instead, the more closely they watched, the stranger the partnership became. Because every so often, the oxpecker ignored the ticks completely. It walked past dozens of easy meals and headed straight towards something else, an open wound. At first, researchers assumed the bird was simply inspecting the injury while searching for hidden parasites. But repeated observations suggested something different. The birds often remained there far longer than expected. They weren't just looking, they were feeding. Suddenly, one of the best-known examples of cooperation in the animal kingdom no longer seemed so straightforward. Had everyone misunderstood this relationship? Was the oxpecker really helping the rhinoceros, or quietly taking advantage of it? The question quickly spread beyond a single observation. If the bird truly benefited by feeding it wounds, then why would a rhinoceros allow it to stay? Surely an animal this powerful could remove a bird with a single shake of its body. Yet many rhinos don't, and that contradiction has challenged biologists for years. To understand why, we first need to look beyond the wound itself. Because the answer isn't hidden inside the injury. It's hidden in everything the bird was doing long before it ever reached it. Long before an oxpecker ever reaches an open wound, it spends hours doing something far less dramatic. It hunts, not for flesh, not for blood, but for parasites. Across the African savanna, every large mammal carries an invisible burden. Ticks attach themselves beneath folds of skin, around the ears, under the legs, and anywhere they're difficult to remove. A single tick may seem harmless, but dozens, or even hundreds, feeding day after day, can weaken an animal over time. They consume blood, irritate the skin, and in some cases, may contribute to the spread of disease. For a rhinoceros, removing them isn't easy. Its massive body is built for strength, not precision. It can't inspect every part of its own skin, and it certainly can't reach every parasite hiding beneath thick folds of hide. The oxpecker can. With quick, deliberate movements, every few steps, the bird pauses, tilts its head, and slips its narrow bill beneath another fold of thick gray skin, stopping every few seconds to inspect another patch of skin. Its narrow bill slips into tiny creases that the rhinoceros can barely feel. One tick disappears, then another, and another. This is the behavior that made the oxpecker famous. For generations, it was celebrated as one of nature's smallest caretakers, and for good reason. Field observations repeatedly show these birds spending much of their day removing external parasites from large mammals. At first glance, The relationship appears to benefit both species. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. If parasite removal were the bird's only goal, why abandon an easy meal?
A symbiotic relationship.
Researchers began documenting moments when an oxpecker would leave several attached ticks untouched, only to climb toward a fresh wound nearby. Once there, the bird often remained longer than anyone expected. That single behavior changed everything. Some scientists proposed that the bird wasn't simply cleaning the wound. Instead, it might be feeding on fluids, damaged tissue, or other resources exposed by the injury. If that interpretation is correct, the interaction becomes far more complicated than a simple cleaning partnership. Watching one dramatic moment doesn't necessarily reveal the full relationship. Imagine judging an entire friendship based on its worst 5 minutes. You'd almost certainly miss everything that happened before and everything that came afterward. The same challenge exists in wildlife research. An oxpecker may spend hours removing parasites before investigating a single wound. Focusing only on the wound creates one picture. Looking at the entire day creates another. That's why researchers still debate exactly where this relationship belongs. Is it mostly cooperative, with occasional costs, or is it more self-serving than people once believed? The evidence doesn't point cleanly in either direction, and that uncertainty leads to an even bigger question. If scientists still can't fully agree on whether the bird helps or harms the rhinoceros, how does the rhinoceros itself seem to have reached a decision? The answer may be simpler than it first appears. Not because the relationship is simple, but because evolution rarely asks a single question. Imagine life from the rhinoceros's perspective. Every day, it moves through dense vegetation, muddy waterholes, and open grasslands. Along the way, hundreds of tiny parasites search for places to feed. Many settle where the rhino can neither see nor reach, behind the ears, beneath heavy folds of skin, around the base of the tail, and between thick layers of hide. Getting rid of every parasite alone is almost impossible. For an oxpecker, however, those hidden places are exactly where food can be found. Day after day, the bird removes parasites the rhinoceros would otherwise continue carrying. That benefit is real, but so is the cost. When the bird investigates an open wound, the interaction may become less beneficial and more opportunistic. Some researchers suggest repeated pecking could interfere with healing under certain conditions. Others argue that those moments represent only a small fraction of the bird's daily behavior and shouldn't define the entire relationship. In other words, both ideas can be true. The oxpecker may help its host much of the time, while also taking advantage of opportunities when they appear. That may sound contradictory. In nature, it isn't. Evolution doesn't reward kindness. It doesn't punish selfishness. It simply favors strategies that improve the chances of survival. And survival is often built on compromise. The same pattern appears across Africa. Oxpeckers ride buffalo through dusty plains. They search the long necks of giraffes. They travel with zebras crossing endless grasslands. Each host offers different challenges. Each carries different parasites. Each responds differently to the bird's presence. Yet the partnership continues, not because it's perfect, because, over countless generations, it has remained valuable enough to survive. Perhaps that's why scientists continue studying these birds today. The real mystery was never whether the oxpecker is a hero or a villain. Those are human ideas. Nature rarely works that way. Instead, it creates relationships that constantly shift along a spectrum. sometimes cooperative,
remarkable symbiosis.
sometimes competitive,
The Oxpecker,
and
the
often
Oxpecker
somewhere in
provides a vital
between.
cleaning service,
Which brings
ridding
us
the
back
rhino
to the
of
image we
parasites.
began
A
with.
perfect example
A
of
tiny
symbiosis
bird
in the golden light.
standing inside the wound of a giant rhinoceros. At first, it looked like an act of trust. Then it looked like exploitation. Now, it looks like something far more fascinating. A partnership shaped by millions of years of adaptation, where every advantage carries a cost, and every cost may still be worth paying. The next time you see an oxpecker disappear into the skin of a rhinoceros, don't ask whether you're looking at friendship or betrayal. Ask a different question. How many of nature's greatest survival strategies exist not because they're perfect, but because they are simply good enough to endure? And perhaps that's why the rhinoceros never pulls away.